And apart from Gotham City, an even earlier inspiration that kind of geared me toward what we're doing in Helvetets Port now is Merciful Fate. Because I think when those were the first big inspirations when I had learned to play guitar when it comes to riffing. So I don't know if the influence can be seen as much as it does with Gotham City, but for example, I think that a song like Night of the Innocent is quite Merciful Fate inspired in some way. When we were 4 guys with O Thunder, Inquisitor, K Lightning and myself, that was the longest mark of Helvetets Port, so to speak, until 2015 when David here joined. And then in 2018, I believe 19, then Inquisitor decided to quit. And by that time we had already played a couple of shows with Earthquake Rasmus when he was standing in for Philip, so it wasn't a stretch to ask him to join. And since then we've been those current 5 people.
And we are looking forward of continuing as such and obviously playing a bit more when time allows it. And my relationship to Helvetets Port began around the year 2008. I remember very vividly when the Exodus to Hell album came out, and I went to the local record shop and I bought it the day it was released, I think, or perhaps maybe a few days later because shipping and all of that. But I remember I saw it and I had known Philip from before because I had recorded some demo material in his studio, and we later became very close friends. And from then on, when I bought that album and then the video came out, the Lightning Rod Avenger, which was it was huge, and not only for me, I think it fared very well amongst the heavy metal community of the time back then. And the Exodus to Hell album, I think it was like very perfectly produced heavy metal album with a lot of weirdness in it that really spoke to me in a way, and I was instantly hooked on it. And I think I had it on the turntable for weeks without listening to anything else on the stereo. And a few years later, come 2011, our paths would start to cross. We would play festivals together where Helvetets Port were playing, and I was in a band called Hands of Orlak at the time. And we sort of crossed paths every now and then, and I became very close with Congo as well, and not so much with Oscar as you might think. We started off on a really bad end of the stick. But when in 2012, a year later, Oscar really I stole my heart, and we've been almost like
we have had a bromance ever since.
Had a bromance ever since, yes. And from then on, I joined a band called Portrait, which is connected to Helvetets Port in the way that Philip, Inquisitor, basically he used to sing in that band. But he didn't at the time when I joined. And I usually, well, most weekends where we were rehearsing with Portrait, I usually always ended up hanging out with Oscar anyway. And on 2015, I get a phone call from Oscar, and he's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. How are you?" And he sort of asked me right out, "But do you want to play with us?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" With Helvetets Port. And I'm like, I didn't even ask in what context or if it was like joining the band or just playing live. I just said yes. And from then on, we went to London, played there my first show. It went very well. And I think I never joined the band like ceremoniously. I've just shown up to the gigs ever since and appeared on the albums and recordings. And I don't know, can I be a full member of the band, Thomas?
Yeah. Yes, you can.
Thank you. So from 2020, I am officially a full member of Helvetets Port. And
proposed on camera.
Yeah. And you're witnesses now, so it's yeah, and that's basically that story. And now Helvetets Port is my main priority in life, of course, and it's gonna stay that way for a long time, forever. Yeah, at least until the end of this video. Another pet peeve of mine is that I have noticed in recent years, or since about the year 1985, that heavy metal music suffers from an abundant overuse of power chords. The power chord tends to be central in so many songs and so many albums of heavy metal bands from 1985 and forward. And this must stop. Basically, every riff goes like this. And one thing that I've noticed when I started playing Helvetets Port is that there is an aversion of overusing the concept of power chords within our music. And as such, I will go to demonstrate first time officially a riff that is part of a new song that we started writing since a few years. That's called Key to the Future. It goes like this. But that's not to say that power chords shouldn't be incorporated in heavy metal music, because it's still an essential part of how the heavy metal riff is, what the heavy metal riff is based upon. For instance, the song Brinner from our latest album, From Life to Death, does incorporate quite a few power chords, but they're used in a way that